Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
How are you? I'm still sharing things, but I have to wait until it's live to share it, unfortunately. But give us an intro, Glenn.
Hello. Welcome to Ask a Life Coach, the show with no name
The show
with
with no
Glenn
name.
with Glenn Ambrose. Live Q&A
Woo woo.
with yours truly. What has two thumbs and answers questions? This guy.
This guy. Hey, Katrina.
Hey, Katrina.
Um, Sarah's watching again.
Hey,
Sarah,
Sarah.
frequent watcher of the
Sarah
show.
and Garfield. We get a
Very
bonus with
nice.
Sarah.
Very nice. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them. Type them below, and we will answer them.
I
Well,
double dog dare you.
Glenn will answer them. I will not answer them. I'm not helpful to anyone.
Not true.
Okay, well, I'm not a life coach, but I asked several people some questions beforehand just so we could get the juices flowing. um, I love this show, man. I love talking to you every week live. This is fun.
Yeah, I
This is a
like it
lot of
too.
fun. So let's start with I mean, most questions these days seem to have something to do with this virus thing that's going around. I, I don't know if you've heard of it. I started off quarantine with a great routine, but now that I'm 2 months in, I'm having trouble finding motivation. What things can I do to create more motivation besides writing up a schedule that I don't keep?
Writing up a schedule that I don't keep. Well, I love the honesty.
Yeah,
I think, really right now, I think it's just time to like design a life that you really want. Like like this is such a huge opportunity. And a lot of times people don't see it like that because we're moving so fast. Like when things slow down, we go, oh, well, this is great. I needed a break. And then they take a break and then they just never get moving again. So it's, an object at rest tends to stay at rest. So it's like, so I think it's really seeing this as an opportunity and taking the steps to design the life of your dreams. Like, I mean, now's the time. Like if you're not in an exercise regimen and you want to be, now's the time to take a yoga class and a Pilates class and a Zumba class and all, and try them all. Why? Because you got the time. Find out what you like,
absolutely.
play around with your diet, cook more, look up recipes, like find out healthier things that you like or an easier way, and also you can keep in mind that you're designing the life for your future. So we're going to get back to normal. So, you can try meal delivery services and see if you can find one. Like all the stuff that, when you're talking at the water cooler, you go, oh, that sounds good. I don't have time. Now's the time. So, and keep in mind again that you're designing the life. So even when you get back to work, you can keep in mind that you're like, okay, what can I maintain and what am I going to have to let go of? And, try to, so when you get back into that routine, you're not going to be able to carry everything, but you want to have the ideal life right now. And then you want to take as much of that and carry it over into things when things get busy. And if you really make this like a fun project and a game of designing the life of your dreams, that's where you find things like motivation. It's like, what do you feel like doing? I don't know. What do you feel like doing? I don't really feel like doing anything. Like there's no motivation there because there's no spark.
Right. So this talking point always reminds me of the fact that a lot of people right now unfortunately aren't working, or they're working from home, so they can't go out. Um so they can't go out at different times, right? That they normally would. And what's interesting is that you take a 40-hour work week, and we've done this before, right? But you take a 40-hour work week, and then you don't think about the fact that 40 hours plus plus sleeping for 60, 70 hours a week, whatever 8 hours times 7 is, you have like 48 hours a week of free time that you choose to do with what you want, right? And right now you really notice it. Like, we're really, even if you're working from home, you're really noticing that like 48 to 50 hours of free time a week that you have, because you can't go out and do anything with it. You can't go to the bar, you can't go, you know what I mean? Like, you can't go to the movies, you can't go out to a party, go out to see your friends.
You
Like,
can't distract yourself with
exactly,
what
you
you
can't.
normally do.
Exactly. So now it's like, what do we do, and how do we do it? But I think that if we take this time to realize the value of that extra time that you have every week, and like you said, decide what motivates you, decide all of the water cooler, that would be nice if I had time. You have time, you have like literally no distractions for what you can do other than fear.
Yeah. So
And
it's
and
like
so
try
now is the
hobbies and
time
stuff.
to do this. And then when you go back to it and you're afraid, like, oh, well, when I go back to my life, I'm not going to have this. You still have that time. You still have that extra time. Just decide what you didn't like doing before, that you did mindlessly to distract yourself,
Right.
because there's
It's conscious.
definitely time for you to do the stuff that you wanted to do.
So
Um,
it's bringing consciousness into your spare time.
absolutely.
It's so like it's when you do have that time, when you go back, instead of sitting around and watching 4 hours of television, all of a sudden you developed a hobby in this downtime that you take part of that time and do with, or
Yep.
you just anything that feeds your soul. You are forced to stay within. That means you should be going within. And when you go within yourself, you start asking empowering questions like, what brings me joy? What is going to feed my soul? How can I get enjoyment out of this life? And try to find what those things are that capture your interest and start bringing them into your life so you can have a better quality of life after this is all over.
Absolutely. Sarah, you're insane.
No, you're like, I'm not going to answer any questions. You just answered one. So see, he's
Katrina,
right.
did you transfer your podcast to this platform now? No, this is a different thing than the podcast. Although we do record the podcast on the same platform that we're using right now, but that's a separate issue. So this is different than the podcast. This is just a live Q&A. Nothing's changing with Life Lessons and Laughter. It's still going to come out every other week on Sunday, and you can find it on Insight Timer, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere you've ever found it. Margie says, I love Q&A with Glenn and Ben. Makes my Thursdays happy. Lisa. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
Kate says hi from
And
Denver.
Kate. We got Rhode Island. We got Denver. We got California with Sarah. Katrina, I'm not sure where she's from.
Katrina says, how can I help my son learn to value people and his relationships? His value is currently on screens and video games, and any conversation that pinpoints emotion, he runs from or deflects.
Sounds like a teenager. Yeah, it's that, it's tough, like, I mean, it depends on the age. There's a lot of variables, but I mean, it's I think a lot of it, believe it or not, especially with the screen stuff, is, if you're still in that space where your child's young enough and you have some sort of control, or even if not, it's like, just be like, hey, let's go for a walk. We're going to head out for a walk in like 15 minutes. All right. And then just walk out of the room. Like, don't get into a conversation about it. Like, I started doing that with my son when he started, spending more time on the video games and stuff. And I mean, over the years, a lot of things that, like, if you go up to a kid, hey, do you want to do something? No, that's a teenager. Like, it's, that's what they do. And sometimes younger than teenagers. Do you want to do this? No. Do you want to do this? No. Nothing sounds good to them. So don't discuss it. Hey, we're going to go for a walk. Hey, we're going to go grab an ice cream. Hey, Come watch a movie with me. Hey, and try spending some time, with like, you're not going to take a kid and have a conversation and go, let me tell you why relationships are important. You see, you really feel warm and fuzzy, and and it's very important, and you really shouldn't be looking at your video. Like, all they're hearing is Charlie Brown's teacher, want, 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 want. Kids listen to half of what you say if you're lucky. They pay attention to 100% of what you're doing, though. So just make it more action. Don't try to talk them into anything. Just actually try to enjoy time with them. I think that that's kind of the most generic answer I can give. And it's okay to limit screen time. You're the parent, so, remember who's got the roles in the house. So, like, if you need to set parameters, then set the parameters. It's, oh, I don't want to get off my game. I don't really care. This isn't a popularity contest. You don't let the chickens run the roost. If there's a problem, this is where, here's a good general answer. So the most luck I ever had at being a parent was when my child was doing something that I didn't like. And I was getting frustrated with it. I stopped pointing the finger at my child and I started pointing the finger at myself. And I started going, this is my house. I'm the adult. I'm supposed to be in charge. If there's a child that is doing something that I don't approve of, that's my fault, because I'm supposed to be the one that's in charge here. So, and then all of a sudden that would shift my thinking of being a victim of my child doing, oh, I can't control him. And then it put the responsibility back on me. And when I made the adjustments within myself, all of a sudden, things went better.
My question for Katrina, or it says Glenn ... It's Bry. Do you know?
Yeah. Okay, I know Brian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, how old is your son? Are the video games and screen times social? Because, I think everything that Glenn just said is so important and so true, and very, very, very important for your interpersonal relationship with your child. But to ease your fear and worry maybe a little bit, if he's like, for example, Glenn, your son, I assume plays video games with his friends.
Yeah.
Right. So if that's social interaction where he's on video games and he's on social media and everything, and he's talking to his friends, he is potentially building good emotional relationships, and might just be when you're having a conversation with him and he's pinpointing, and it pinpoints emotion and he runs from it and deflects. That's something that just like teenagers and kids do. So, I would say what Glenn is saying, you're not like angrily being, if every conversation isn't get off the video games and it's just a conversation of like, come take a walk with me, then you might find out that the emotional part is there. And like, kids
Right.
develop talking to other people. They develop relationships and like stuff. So I think that stuff could be all happening. Yeah. He's
Right.
He's 14. Do I need to be considerate of the divorce and how much leeway I give on that?
Oh, yeah, you got not much. No, no, not really. Rule number 1, don't parent from guilt. Do not let your kid run over you because you feel bad that he's going through a difficult time, because they will play you like a fiddle. Kids are manipulative, man, because they're trying to figure out their way in this world, and they're looking for openings. And as soon as they sense weakness, it's like a shark with blood in the water, man. You cannot parent from guilt. And we cannot shelter. This is the unconscious belief that we're supposed to protect our children from, if our children are going through something difficult, that's bad. It's not bad. It's part of life. We all go through difficult things. We've all gone through difficulties in our childhood, and we've all gone through difficulties in our adulthood. It's life. And the better they get at not feeling like a victim, or not feeling like people are going to kiss their ass because they're going through a difficult time. I mean, you can be compassionate. You can have an open heart and be compassionate towards them. You can have conversations to help them through their worries and stuff like that, but you can't parent from guilt. You know, you got to be like, hey, you know, so you're having a if you're having a difficult time with this, you want to talk, I'm here, you know, but that doesn't give you the right to crap on me, or to, you know. And it's like, I do know Brian, and I think, you know, Brian's a very hands-on father. So it's like, you know, I don't think that he's going too far in the direction of letting his kid just sit there and play video games. You know, I mean, some parents let the kids just play video games constantly. So it's probably not the case. So, you know, like, I think that's a good point that you said, Ben, you know, about there is social interaction on these games. I know there's a lot of negatives. Trust me. I agree that there's a lot of negatives, but there are some positives. And I also agree with what you said. The reason I thought of go for a walk, grab them and say, hey, let's go do this, is because not to get them off the video game. It was to build the relationship, like you said. So it's like just spending time. Let's go for a walk. Why? Because I really like spending time with you. And then walk out. Yeah. Be back in 10 minutes to get you. You know, like, because I really love you. That's why. It's kind of tough for anybody to argue with that.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
And they might try, because I know. But
that's what you're not fight. It's not get off the video game because I need you to get off the video game, or because I said so, or because it's not good for you.
Right. Demonizing what they like.
Yeah.
Is usually not a good thing. And, you know, when I was my son's age, I was doing all kinds of drugs and drinking and breaking the law in just about every other way you can imagine. And my son played video games, and he doesn't do that stuff. So it's, you know, I'm like, hey, I get that there's drawbacks, but there's also positives too. I don't know anybody. I don't see one. I have not met one kid in the last 19 years since I've been a parent that has done the things that I've done. I haven't even heard of one kid that has done the amount of stuff that I did just by the time I was 14. You know, like, so I mean, the way they're interacting with life is changing, and some of this stuff isn't always good, but there's kind of some good benefits to it too. You know.
Absolutely. Glenn, I have a question, and feel free to, again, we are here with, if you've never seen any of this before, we're here with Glenn Ambrose, who is an international life coach, host of the podcast Life Less. People are watching this that have no idea who we are. They just are. Really? We've shared it from too many places. Hey guys. So if you have questions that you've always wanted to ask, you know, put them in the comments. Send him a message, and we'll do it. We do a weekly Q&A show where he does sort of a deep dive into one question that is emailed to you directly every Friday, called Ask Glenn Anything. And so you can do that. Just go to glennambrose.com, send in an email to glenn@glennambrose.com, ask your question. Or you can the best way to do it is literally, if you feel comfortable with it, just type it in the comments right now and we will ask it. Glenn, what are we going to call this show?
I don't know. I was out on my bike ride, and I had, what did I send you? Pick my brain.
Yep. You sent me, Pick My Brain or old book titles.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, what about all the time I spent trying to figure out a title for my book? I've got like 3 pages of like possible book titles. I'm like, I should go through that, you know?
Absolutely. So I have some more questions that we got via email. I really thought 2020 was going to be my year. I was so optimistic and had a bunch of goals and the capacity to achieve them. And then ... Well, you know the rest. How do I get back to where I was in January mentally?
It's perception. Your reality is based on your perception, and we're so quick to judge. It's like we're just so quick to judge, and we have to slow down and understand that our perspective sucks. Like, our perspective is not good. Like, all we do is we just have we have a view that we look at life based on our perspectives, based on our experiences. That's so narrow. So we think that if life goes the way we want it to, we're going to be happy, and if it goes the way we don't want it to, it's not going to be happy. And as soon as something veers off, we're like, oh no, well, this is bad, and then we stamp bad on it. And then, like, as soon as you think something's bad, it's bad. So I think we have to slow down and go, like, this is an opportunity. Maybe you thought you knew what you wanted. Or maybe you thought you knew the direction that you were going. There's, I would say, a 60-40 chance that there's because if you had everything figured out and everything was perfect, you probably would have started it before this. And I'm not saying that this is the person's bad timing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that things tend to work out when you're in the flow. So when you have everything figured out and it's just perfect for your life, the universe tends to support that. So if the universe knew COVID was coming, so, like, if it would have been in your best interest to get this thing rolling, you probably would have gotten it rolling like in October of last year instead of January of this year. Like, like, things would have lined up quicker or something, and you would have jumped in if that was in your highest good. So, we always have to look at things and go, assume that this is happening for me, not to me, and go, okay, so the brakes got pumped. Maybe I can look at some things in another way. Or a lot of things that we do when what we think we're going to do, or the timing seems right, and then the brakes get slammed on like this, we go, oh, I can't do it. Like, let's just say I'm going to start a business, for example. Oh, I can't start a business. Like, everything's shut down. One, not necessarily true. Some businesses are starting right now and they're doing amazingly well. Two, even if it's a business that you can't start right now, there's a huge possibility that there's things that you can do. You can build your website. You can order business cards. You can, there's so much preparation in businesses. You can research. You can, there's lots of things that you can do to get yourself in a position when things open up, you do take off, and it's use this time to either do those things or maybe give things another look and go, geez, maybe the brakes get pumped for a reason. Maybe maybe this isn't the best thing. Let's look around. Are there any holes of what I did? Or is this going to bring me joy? Because a lot of people run in a direction. They go, oh, well, I'm going to make good money and then I'll be able to make my mortgage. And then, so that's the best thing I should do. And there's no happiness at the end of an unhappy road. There's no joy down there. So what you're going to do, if you're lucky, is be successful, pay your mortgage, and be flipping miserable. So maybe it's time to adjust and go, geez, I'm a chef and I really want to open a restaurant because that's my dream. But now when I slow down, I look at it, I realize if I open a restaurant, I'm never going to be cooking. I'm going to be spending all my time managing a restaurant and I'm never going to cook again. Maybe I shouldn't open a restaurant. Yep. Well, maybe I should, and I should hire a restaurant manager to manage it, and then I'll cook. Geez, let me start interviewing restaurant managers. This is the type of stuff that we need to, but there's always something to do where you are. Tony. This is my high school buddy, Tony, from Tony in Texas.
I was having a conversation about, like, regrets or sort of kind of regrets yesterday with a friend, and like the thought of maybe I didn't give something enough of a try, or maybe I didn't give something enough of attention or whatever later, like, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
something like a business plan, or a relationship, like a person that you went on a couple dates with and like you bailed on it, you know what I mean, or like starting a business and not following through, or trying to chase a dream and not following through. And I think that it echoes. I wanted to talk to you about this in general, just as a pick your brain situation. Um, but in general, like I was thinking about it, and my thought was, hey, okay,
Hey, Doug.
sure. Um, so my thought was, like, no, no, there's no reason for regrets on any of that stuff, because if you wanted to do it, if it was supposed to happen, if any of that stuff was supposed to happen, you would do it. You would care more. You make time for the things that you want. You find a way. Things stay in your brain. The universe conspires for you. Like, if it's not a path you're supposed to go down, you don't try to go down it. So why are you know what I mean? So like, if you thought that you had a plan at the beginning of 2020, and now you're like, well, none of that makes sense anymore, it was never supposed to make sense.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like there's something, if it doesn't make sense anymore, yeah, it doesn't. But regrets, not even one letter. Yeah. So
We'll get
yeah,
to that in a second.
it's your passion fuels your steps. So like if you're that's why I don't do anything. The best moves I've ever made in my business were all passion oriented, and including this. Like we did this, and the reason that we're doing this is because it's fun. That's the only reason we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like doing it. Like I didn't think it was a good business idea. Like, somebody talked to me about becoming a client. And they said, hey, your Ask Glenn Anything live Q&A worked. You got a client out of it. And I was like, isn't that interesting? That wasn't even my intention. I was doing it for one reason. It's because it's fun. And that's what that's why I do my podcast. That's why I do my life coaching, because it brings me joy. It makes me feel alive. It gives me energy, which you can see right now, as opposed to a half an hour ago when this started. My energy builds doing this.
Yeah.
That's how I know that I'm supposed to be doing it.
Yep.
At
5:45, I was like, ugh. And then like I signed on with you, and you were like, hey man, how's it going? But I knew that by like 6:10, we were gonna be like,
build.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's the same thing when I'm working with my clients' life coaching. It's like I gain energy, I don't lose it.
Yep, exactly. So we have one more question that we'll get to today, and please come back and join us every Thursday. As a parent, how do you let go of decisions that you feel guilty about? I butchered reading that question, but you got it.
Yeah, I didn't even. I was reading at the same time you were. So, how do you let go of decisions you feel guilty about? Well, one, like I did a whole podcast on guilt, so listen to that. It serves no purpose. It's, guilt serves no purpose. It's just spending time wishing the past was different, which it's not. So all it does is make you feel worse about yourself as a person, which, watch my energy as I do this. I'm just talking about it, and you notice my voice is getting deeper. My energy is dropping. I'm talking about guilt, and my, that doesn't make you become a better parent. That makes you feel like a loser and, less of a parent. So, lowering your self-esteem doesn't make you a better parent. So you have to understand that the guilt doesn't work. The other thing I think is, we touched on it a little bit, and I think this is gigantic with parenting. We have to get this unconscious belief that our children aren't supposed to experience anything negative. Like, it's okay, man. It's, we're not perfect. We are not perfect. Nobody is a perfect parent. Every parent makes mistakes. And in hindsight, that's the exact stuff that gives your children strength. I'm not saying to go torture them with a freaking cigarette butt. What I'm saying is that we do our best, and as the mistakes happen, the children actually get more growth from our mistakes than when we do things right. If you actually sheltered your your child, from everything, all the negativity in their life, they'd be shallow as a puddle. They would have no coping strategies. And as soon as anybody pissed in their Cheerios, their whole life would go to hell. Like, they need to learn how to deal with difficulty as you go. We've all done it. Nobody's had a perfect childhood. So that's our learning curves. So don't try to shelter your children from difficult situations. Be a support system for them to help them as they go through. My son's been through a ton of stuff, and he's strong as an oak now because of it. Like, it's amazing. Some of the stuff, life happens to him, and he's like, this is nothing. Why? Because he's been through stuff, and I didn't try to shelter it. When we moved down here, somebody was like, oh my God, isn't that going to be hard? I said, yeah, it's going to be hard for him to move down to another state, but it was his decision. And it's like, to move to another state and do a senior year of high school, that's going to be hard. Yes. Well, then see, he shouldn't do it. I said, no, I've never parented him to not do something because it's hard. Like, if that's what you want, then go do it, even though it's hard. And if it's hard and you need somebody, I'll be here for you, or if, apologize to your kids if you made a mistake. Be like, hey, I'm not perfect. Let them see your humanity. And I'll end on this. When I was a kid, I thought my father was Superman. Like, I thought he was the most intelligent, coolest, most loving, wonderful person on the planet when I was really little. And then I got a little older, and he fell off that pedestal, and I was shattered. I was like, this guy is not who I thought he was. And to be honest, it probably would have helped me to see a little bit of his humanity. So I showed my son humanity all the time. If I was going through a difficult time in life, I didn't shove it down his throat, but if he happened to be there, I let him see it. It's like, hey, sometimes life kicks you in the balls, and but you can get through it. You can pull yourself together, and you can have a better day. You can start your day over and have a better day. You can have a better day tomorrow. This is just temporary. Everybody goes through difficult times, and then we come out. And that's what I think, that's the biggest lesson to teach your kid. Not hide them from difficulties and all that stuff. It's teach them to go through difficulties. So there.
I was just going to say something so nice to you, you idiot.
Wow, you were going to say something nice?
I was.
Well, let's hear it now.
I was just going to say, Glenn, listen, I know that I'm doing like 1,000 of these things a week now, and there's so many other hosts going on. This is still by far my favorite show to do. especially this live Q&A. Like, this is so much fun. I love it. I love the interactions. Please come back. We're going to be here every Thursday at 6 p.m. We still need to think of an actual name for the show. We probably have one on that list, but if you have suggestions, send them in on Facebook and all of that stuff. Oh no.
And there's There's a 50-50 chance. I want to tell everybody this because I've learned this about myself. I'm going to keep asking you for ideas for the name of the show until we get one. But please know that there's a 50-50 shot that I just blow them all off and pick one myself. It's how my brain works. It's just like I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm going to call the show. So I ask for help. And then half the time I actually take that help. The other half of the time I go, thank you. I'm going to go with my own. I'm going to choose door letter B.
Yeah. I mean, I completely understand that. I do that all the time. I think it's a creative thing. Like, I think that sometimes when you're forced into creativity, you're like, this is I got nothing, and then you ask people for input, and then you're like,
the juices flowing,
and then you're like, nah, and then you're quiet, like on a bike ride or something, and then you're like, all right, I got it.
Yeah,
this is what it is.
Greatness comes. Thanks, Tony.
Tony, I love the emojis. You're killing it with the emojis, bro.
Yeah, that was a toad because that was my nickname in high school.
Very nice.
So, yeah, it's a lot of times stuff comes in that moment of stillness, and I go, "Oh, that's it," And when it clicks, it clicks. So.
By the way, I'd love to point out that Glenn and I had a conversation on Tuesday about all of my shows running over their allotted times and how annoying that was. And yet, Glenn, we are 7 minutes over time right now. Son of a... Thank you very much, man. This is great. And I have nothing else to do tonight, so I'm so excited.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
I'm literally so excited. We're playing We're playing a rerun at 8. I'm super excited. It's very nice. So
nice.
Yeah. All right, man.
You need some downtime.
For sure.
Yes. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for the questions. Thanks for watching. Check out glennambrose.com. All my stuff's there. My book, Ask Glenn Anything. Just sign up for the email list and you'll automatically get it. All 170 podcasts, 130 blogs or something. It's all there. So check it out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.